Well, hey there, everybody, and good evening to you. We've got some severe storms way off to our west right now. It's actually a pretty calm evening for us here in the low country in the coastal empire. Cold fronts moving our way. Actually, a couple tornado warning storms over in Mississippi and Alabama right now. But I want to give you some good news here, just starting off. I don't think that the storms are going to be that big of an issue, but there is still that potential for one or two storms to get a little bit strong. I'm going to show you where that could be and time it out for you here over the next couple of minutes. So today, this is the setup, and it's actually been brought down only a slight risk now for northern Alabama going into the Mississippi area as well. But this is for tomorrow. This is what matters to us. And we have this marginal risk draped across middle Georgia going up into the low country. But notice for our coastal communities, this lighter shade of green that we see here, that is only a general, hey, thunderstorms could happen here kind of outlook. But looking at, we see this green, that matches up with the marginal risk here, which is 1 out of 5 on this convective outlook scale. Now, what does it mean to be in that marginal risk zone? Well, first of all, not many of our communities here are actually in that. It's going to be western areas. Folks along 16 there, that does include Bullock, Evans areas that could see a stronger storm or two in the afternoon. But I also don't want you to look too hard at these just solid lines and say, oh, if I'm on the other side, I'm okay, or I'm in it, I need to be worried. First of all, there's no need to be worried about these. This is just a typical setup that we see here, and I'm just bringing you the threats. And that really is going to be isolated. I mean, a couple of communities could see wind gusts 45 to 60 miles an hour. That's going to be about it, and you'll see why here in a minute. Really not talking about too much in the way of heavy rain, hail, or tornadoes, which is good news, right? We don't want any of those. But I do want to show you the threat for tomorrow. So start with this evening real quick. We're all quiet here. Evening plans going according to whatever you guys had going out there, which is good news. And here, at least along the coast, temperatures not budging much whatsoever as we go into the evening time frame here, with temperatures holding here in the 60s and not changing a lot. We've got a lot of moisture coming in from the south, about 5-10 miles an hour, and clouds around, but no rain. So we're staying in the mid 60s. Now, unfortunately, we lose an hour of sleep or whatever you're doing overnight. So don't forget to put those clocks ahead before you go to bed. I know a lot of our phones kind of do it for us these days, but I've got an older truck, so I've got to do it myself. You know, those ovens, microwaves, things like that. Don't get thrown off for tomorrow. Now, what's actually going to happen overnight here? Nothing strong at all. We could see a few of these isolated showers before sunrise. This is just enough to make the roads a little bit wet if you're up early for Sunday. I think that might get some moderate showers if you're offshore, say McIntosh County along Liberty. Could see those if you have boating plans in the morning. Otherwise, we're looking okay for the first half of the day. Now, before the chance for an isolated thunderstorm even arrives to the area, we're going to get pretty warm coming up on our Sunday. Lower 80s for many of us, even make it up to the mid 70s here along the coastal communities. It's going to be a warm one out there, especially for our standards for this time of the year. And of course, moisture and temperatures. Those are just a couple of ingredients that go into the severe weather, I guess, recipe, you could say. But the good news is that we're kind of missing some big key factors that go into that. So when you look at this future radar, it's not going to look very impressive, and that's a good thing. We don't want it to look impressive. But let's go into the afternoon. Really late afternoon, early evening, we're starting to see the potential for this. And I think it's underdoing it just a little bit here with this particular model, but what we're looking at is more middle Georgia. Notice where we're starting to see the oranges and the yellows. That's where the primary threat for these stronger storms will be. It's not going to be for us. We're just throwing it out there because there is that potential for far western communities. Also, if you're traveling toward Macon, back from Atlanta, things like that, that's where we're looking at the threat for this going forward for tomorrow. But there is going to be that potential. Notice this is what we mean by maybe one or two stronger storms. Majority of us dry. You're going to say, hey, Andrew said last night severe storms are possible. And they are. But the thing is that most of us are going to even miss out on the rain. And this is going to be really inland. Swainsboro, you've got a better shot than, say, somebody that's over in, say, the Rincon area or Springfield, somewhere like that. So this is not a big threat. This is not anything like what we dealt with last weekend, but also as we go into the evening time frame, 8 o'clock, temperatures still in the lower 70s, could have a couple of these isolated storms moving across the area. And I wouldn't say, like the model suggests, say Bullitt County could have a storm, particularly at 8 o'clock. It's going to be off a little bit with timing and positioning. So it just shows you overall that the potential is there. And as we go to 10 o'clock, notice that we're still sticking with 2-3 isolated areas that could have some heavier rainfall. This is not a widespread thing. And as we get later into the evening, we lose the intensity of what's already going to be not the most favorable environment for some of these thunderstorms. And then it's really just rain. You might have a little downpour out there. Of course, as you get along the coast, you have less friction from the land, so you can always have it a little bit heavier out here over the ocean. But this is not going to be anything to really be worried about. I just want to communicate the threat for a couple of thunderstorms out there tomorrow. So hopefully you guys are getting that. And we've got some other news to talk about as well. First off, we're going to have some of these showers lingering going into early Monday morning, but that about does it for the thunderstorm and potentially strong to severe threat for tomorrow. Hopefully that answered a lot of your questions. I'll get to some of those later on here. Big weather week, at least for weather watchers, because of all the events going around the Low Country and Coastal Empire. Now, midweek looks pretty dry. Monday afternoon, dry. Tuesday, very dry, especially Wednesday, Thursday. But check this out. Friday going into the weekend, it does look like it's going to be a little bit damp. Now, I don't want you to see that there's a decent chance of rain on Saturday and get worried, because there is a lot that has to go on here still going into the next 5-6 days before we can nail down plans for the weekend. Of course, Saturday, got the parade in Savannah. Hope that we see you guys. If you guys are going to that parade, we're going to have the WTOC Storm Chaser out there walking along with it. So please say hello. Right now, this is going to be a something that we are really watching closely, because the model data that goes this far out, it can grab kind of the general sense of things, but we really have to track the placement of a low that's going to be off to the north, and then associated with that will be rain that's kind of trailing off to it from the south. And when that arrives here, Friday versus Saturday, is really going to impact this weekend, right? Right now it looks like a little bit wetter Friday going into Saturday, but that's not a safe bet just yet. But the good news is that going up towards that, looking pretty dry for folks that are coming into town, driving, traveling in here. A lot of folks going to be in the Savannah area for this week. That maybe not usually. But let's look at temperatures. Warmest day of the next week will be Sunday, tomorrow, with those showers afternoon, mainly going to be in the evening, and then cooler Tuesday, and morning temperatures 60s next couple of mornings, 50s for most of the mornings going into Friday, when there's a slight chance of rain now, but we might have to bump it over to Friday versus Saturday. Of course, this is something that is a bit closer to it. It's not that we don't understand the meteorology to it. The data that is there for us to interpret doesn't really come in as well until we get closer to it. And that's how, of course, we forecast and make our decisions. So hope you guys stay tuned. Just make sure you have those alerts turned on the WTOC weather app. Don't forget to put those clocks ahead an hour before we go to bed tonight. And we'll be back again on the news at 11. If you have those questions, I will be answering those here on Facebook just after this video ends, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening.